Good morning, early afternoon, not quite afternoon, everybody. We're really excited to be here. I've seen a number of your faces already. I will be moderating, and these four individuals to my right will be doing most of the talking. So they come from a variety of backgrounds, both in education as well as in the types of work they're doing right now. We'll have some structured questions that we'll run through so that you can hear a little bit more about what it's like to work at Honeywell as an early career professional specifically. Before we jump into the questions, I did just want to highlight a few things that are also on the board behind me here. We have tables set up. Oh, now I'm turned around. In front of the Prescott patio, as well as be kind of behind the engineering building. Is there a better way to describe that, Aisha? Okay, she says I got it. By all means, swing by, talk to people if you're at all interested. Come prepared with resumes, and we'd love to talk to any of you who are here. There will be another panel at 1 o'clock. That 1 o'clock panel will include more manager levels. So we wanted you to get both insights, what it's like to be a leader at Honeywell, because anyone that we're hiring from university, we'd love to have you become a future leader at some point. And on top of that, but we also especially thought that this panel would be especially applicable to hear from some of our early career panels. Some of our early career professionals on this panel. So we'll just go down the line, and if you all don't mind, just taking a few minutes to tell about yourself, where you went to school, what degree you got, and specifically what kind of work you are doing or have done with the company. That'd be great. So we'll start with Ruben.
Hi, everyone. Excited to be with you all. Thank you guys for having us. So I did my undergrad in econ at ASU, and I did underwriting for a little bit at Chase downtown, doing home equity loans. So getting a little bit versed in finance. After that, I kind of wanted a little bit more, something more dynamic. So I wanted to go to supply chain because I heard there was a lot of fun stuff, fun projects going on there. So I went to get my MBA at ASU and graduated with my focus in supply chain and joined Honeywell. And I've been fortunate to work with some really, really cool projects, certain system integrations, some cost reductions for shipments and logistics. And I've really enjoyed my time there, working with really fantastic talent there. So yeah, I'm excited to share my experience. That's
Hi, my name is Catherine Lawrence, and I graduated from Baylor University in 2020. And I started out in the URDP rotation program. So I did 3 different rotations for 6 months each. And then I have my full-time role in cost performance engineering, where I work cost takeout projects, anything with design changes to the product or manufacturing changes in order to bring down the baseline cost of the part. I'll hand it over.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kristen. I'm a recent grad of Penn State. We are. And so where did I go? So Honeywell first came to me my junior year, and I had no idea what they were all about. I didn't even know there was an aero sector. I thought they just made thermostats. So, but turns out they don't. And I learned a ton, and they asked me to interview for an internship. And so I decided to give it a shot. And then I completed my internship the summer of 2021 remotely. I was an ISC engineering project management intern. I really enjoyed that. Even though it was remote, I learned a ton and really grew my network and things. And so I decided to take the full-time offer, part of the rotation program. So I'm in my first rotation now. I'm a site supply specialist at our Phoenix Engine site, and I deal with all things spare parts.
Awesome. Hello? Okay. Good morning. My name is Brendan Kaiser, Lopes Up, GCU alum. So I graduated 2019. I've been with Honeywell for 3 years now. My role is component engineer. I work at the Honeywell Glendale site. We manufacture control moment and gyroscopes as our bread and butter. Those are the things that go on satellites and basically control them, turn them, solar powered. So without those, it's just a hunk of metal in space, right? So with my role specifically as component engineer, my day-to-day is different. However, I do a lot of stuff with parts. I graduated electrical engineering, so capacitors, transistors, thermistors, you name it, things like that. That's what I deal with on my day-to-day. I can't really say specifically because it just changes all the time.
Great, thank you. Really quick, so you mentioned you were part of the URDP. Ruben, sorry, Catherine mentioned she's part of the URDP. Brendan, are you part of the URDP as well or no? No, but you are, correct? Thank you, Kristen. And Ruben is part of our future supply chain leaders. What do these acronyms mean? Basically, we have a lot of variety. I just wanted to clarify this. We have a variety of positions that are available. Some of them are just direct hire, where you hire into a position, and then, like anybody else, you have opportunities to promote based on your interests. We also have some that are specifically structured to provide a variety of experiences up front. So from different lengths of durations at different locations as well. So you can actually get different exposures in different types of roles. I just wanted to clarify that. And I think some of you mentioned it, but to give an idea of just how many sites we have around the valley, where do each of you actually work? What geographically location?
I work in Tempe.
I work at the engines facility that backs up to the airport.
I'm also at Phoenix Engines.
And I'm at Honeywell Glendale, the 59th Avenue, Union Hills, so North Phoenix.
Yeah. So we have, and I don't even know them all, but we have a Glendale facility. We have one off of Deer Valley, also in the north. We have Tempe. We have like 3 different sites that are in Phoenix. You have engines, and then Sky Harbor, which are just 5 minutes apart or less. There are a variety of locations working on a variety of different products. That hopefully that came through just a little bit there as well. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about transitioning from university to starting full time. What was the hardest part for each of you? And you can go, whoever feels like they have something to say. It doesn't have to go in order. Not everybody has to speak. But what was the hardest part of transitioning from college to full time work?
I would say the time management aspect. You're expected to do a ton of different tasks, and your email is going to blow up at all hours of the day. So it's just kind of deciding what is both important and urgent. And if it's not both of those things, then it can probably wait. But I would say time management for sure.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. What Kristen was saying, it's like there's always more work that could be done, but not necessarily that has to be done. It's not like with an assignment where it has to be done all on that day or do a specific time. But I think also the nice thing is you have your nights to yourself, but you don't have any homework or anything after you shut that laptop off or you go home for the day. So you can pick up some new hobbies.
Absolutely. No, 100% agree. I was going to ask the best part, but I think we'd all have the same answer, which is no homework. Good. And any tips? Then you've talked about some of the hard parts. What tips would you have now when we think through these tips? What they can do now in college to be ready, but also what you did or what you wished you would have done differently once you actually start full time. If that makes sense.
One of the things I did was there's this book called Unspoken Rules. Highly recommended. Kind of read through that. Kind of helped me get prepared for how I should approach meetings, how I should approach different things as far as tasks, questions I need to ask, what kind of things is important for my manager to know, and just kind of having a holistic view of how I should kind of be working and to kind of shorten your learning curve and kind of hit the ground running and really trying to give a good impression because first impressions are very important. So just trying to kind of work through that and trying to be valuable, showing commitment, and just kind of those things.
Sorry, that's great. Yeah, Brendan, sorry.
Yeah, so tip for me is you will not know everything. You will know nothing when you first get into your first role, and you might have imposter syndrome. That's perfectly normal, but ask plenty of questions. At Honeywell, they want you to ask questions. They want to teach you. And if down the road you find, man, maybe this role is not for me, they want to keep you. They want to move you somewhere else. So just learn as much as you can, and you're not going to know everything right away.
I would also just say, like, while you guys are still in school, if you have a role or a company that you want to apply for, either for internship or for full-time, I would do your best to reach out to people in or around that role and just kind of ask questions, what the role is like, see if it's really for you, what you should know going into it, and then also try to familiarize yourself with any of the programs that they use. I know at Honeywell, a program that I use every single day, all day, is SAP. and I hadn't even opened SAP since starting at Honeywell. So lots of Excel, lots of SAP, and depending on your role, it's going to vary. But familiarize yourself with those things before would help a lot.
And I'd say another thing to do once starting your career that helps is being involved in organizations within the company. So I know Honeywell has a lot of networks within Honeywell, like nationwide. Like I'm a part of SWE, Society of Women Engineers, which might not be applicable to everyone as I'm looking around the room, but there's definitely other organizations that I think help with the transition just by getting involved.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit more as well about some of those networks specifically later, because I think it's really applicable and it ties right in. It's been really helpful for me to not only do my work but feel like I fit in socially as well. So that's great. What about and this will be a vulnerable time? Anything that was a critical miss that you wished you would have done differently for anyone? Kind of might have already hit on them, but
I have one. Honeywell was my first internship. I didn't have an internship sophomore into junior year of college. It was COVID, and it was just a weird time for everybody. But I would recommend, to my past self, just trying to get out there and do, even if it was a virtual internship, just to get more experience. Because as much as I love Honeywell and I've loved my experience here, I have nothing to compare it to. So yeah, that's what I would recommend.
it's good. I wanted to jump back to something that Brendan had said. A couple of things. Brendan, you mentioned a ton of scopes or gyros, or I don't even know, right? A ton of things that I don't even know what they mean. But then you also said I come in and it's easy to have imposter syndrome. I think we've all been there. Could you talk to me? And we'll open this to everybody. But since you're a GCU alum, were there any specific courses that helped you transition into that full-time role?
Yeah, I would say the biggest one was our Capstone project senior year. And that was more encompassing everything because you were given a project and you had to work it start to finish. And that's often what happens in my role specifically. You're given a project by your manager or whatever, and they say, hey, we need this in 3 months or 3 days, whatever it may be. And you got to time manage. If you don't know everything, you got to get other people involved. I know with my role specifically, I don't know anything about woodworking, but there was aspects of our project where I had to do some woodworking. So I had to go down there and learn. And we have a great area at GCU where you can do such that. So that, and then as well as a specific course would be circuits. I graduated electrical engineering, so not necessarily building circuits. I don't do that on the day-to-day. I deal more with the actual parts themselves and how they're built, how they're tested, because these parts are going into things that cost millions of dollars and they cannot fail. If one part fails, the whole thing fails. So those are the courses that help me most.
That's great. Thank you. And the rest of you, anything specific about your college experience that you would highlight that helped you prepare for professional life?
I took a couple of Excel courses, and I'm in supply chain, so we deal a ton with Excel. Just learning those shortcuts and things, they'll turn 3 hours work into 30 minutes work. So those were super helpful. And then any of my public speaking courses or any courses where I had to work in a team for a team project for the semester, those are super helpful because every single one of my projects that I work on are team projects. So it's important to know how to work in a team.
I think for me, Excel for sure is a big one. Anything, and I think Tableau or Power BI, any of those data analytics, I think in supply chain, that's just going to continue to grow. And it's important to know how to leverage that data. And another thing that I thought that Brendan said that was really important too was when he said like you're not gonna know a lot. That's very true, and I think it's just important to like just don't be scared. They're gonna give you a lot of big projects, which is one of the things I really like about Honeywell. They put you in positions to really make an impact and drive results. And it's for me, it was intimidating at first. Sometimes I would be working with directors and they have all this experience, and I was brand new to supply chain. But it was just kind of be hungry and don't be scared. If you mess up, it's okay as long as you learn from it. and they want you to grow. They want to put you in these positions so you can get used to these type of projects and really learn and kind of push the team forward.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And I apologize. I forgot to introduce myself. I've seen some, and I've introduced myself twice or three times, or well, that's in a formal setting and to a ton of people already. But my name's Kobe. Just moderating. I'm much less important than the individuals to my right. I am in HR, specifically in talent acquisition. So I support a lot of our university recruiting efforts from a project and program management perspective. And just I would echo what everyone's said. The ability to learn and knowing how to learn and how to deliver is super applicable. For the next question, this really applies strictly to Ruben and Kristen, who did internships at Honeywell. Can you just describe what an internship looks like, how it is different from a full-time position at Honeywell, but then also how it prepared you for transitioning into full-time position?
Yeah. Okay, so I was an ISC engineering project management intern. It's a lengthy name, but so basically for the internships, you're assigned a manager and then also a project. Your manager will work with you to give you a project that you're supposed to complete within the duration of the internship. So my project was to create an onboarding website tool for future supply chain interns, sort of like a one-stop shop. So we had like a list of acronyms. We had profiles for all the different rotationals to get familiarized with their roles, just other quick links and things like that. So that was my main project. And then also I just helped my manager with any projects that she was working on also. But I used that time to my advantage to build my network and just reach out to as many people as I could. But that's very different from my role now, because now, like Brendan was saying, every day is different. Like whatever is being asked of you is going to be completely different. So I learned a lot during the internship, and I was able to use some of those skills now in my role today.
So I interned in 2020 when COVID was just kind of starting to roll. So mine was a little bit kind of difficult just because people were starting to get used to working remote and things of that nature. So I was working with my manager at the time, and I also had a project, and my project was trying to help drive inventory. And one of the things we found, it was a pretty cool project. I got to work with 10 different sites to see kind of where there were opportunities to try to push out inventory into next year, and kind of work with contracts to see what inventory we didn't need. And it kind of showed me how dynamic you kind of have to be and flexible, and how fast Honeywell was able to kind of just switch from, being in person to just going to now working remote and still trying to deliver results and kind of take actions to kind of, impact the company in a positive way as far as revenue and things of that nature.
That's good. Thank you. One thing that I think is often missed, that I've been trying to express at every one of the meetings that I've been at today, or yesterday, I presented to a class as well, is just how big Honeywell is. We have over 100,000 employees, truly global, sites all over the world. Just within the U.S., from Seattle, Washington to Clearwater, Florida, and everywhere in between, small to big, as far as city and size and plants and what type of work we're working on. I say all of that because obviously we're here. We all work in Phoenix. We have a lot of positions that are open in Phoenix, and there may be interest for some of you to stay in Phoenix. But some of you may also be interested in going to other places, and we have those opportunities with even relocation opportunities and housing for internships and things like that. So the next question that I wanted to talk through was for those of you who have relocated, which I believe are Catherine and Kristen have both relocated, one from Baylor and one from Penn State. What was the relocation experience like, and any tips that you would have for that in general?
Sure. Yeah, I can touch on that first. So Honeywell did offer me relocation to move from Texas to Phoenix. I think there's a couple different options that you can pick from, but I just did like the lump sum amount. And then I think it's mostly up to you to manage, what you want to use that money for your relocation. There's definitely plenty to U-Haul my stuff back from Texas and hotels and everything. So that was really great and made the moving aspect even better. For me, the team that we worked with, the partner that Honeywell has for relocation, was really good in that aspect. And it was nice to go into the rotation program and kind of have that group of people. My rotation class was 6 people, and then there was another 6 in ISC. So there's 6 engineering, 6 ISC. So you had same kind of group of people around your age going through the same experience, getting, having that network to start out with, I think was really helpful too.
Yeah, I'd also agree on those points. But so I took the lump sum as well, and I U-hauled with my parents from Pennsylvania to Phoenix, Arizona.
How long of a drive was that?
I think it was 35 hours. But we stopped all throughout the country. We went to the Arch in St. Louis. We went to the Columbus Zoo. We went to Oklahoma City. Not much there, spoiler. But Santa Fe, New Mexico is beautiful. And then our last stop was Phoenix, Arizona. So that was interesting, but don't recommend that. But then, yeah, also going off of Catherine's point, the URDP program, it was like a lifesaver. I was very, very lucky to be a part of that because it's kind of like a built-in friend group. I didn't really have to try very hard at all to put myself out there. There's like tons and tons of people post-grad all in the same boat looking to make friends, some from your site, some from other sites, but the URDP leads do a really good job of coordinating events and things to meet each other, which is really nice. So yeah, I definitely recommend the URDP program. It's like college 2.0.
Right. Perfect. Obviously, the lump sum option is appealing. It's enough that you get to pocket some of the money. So people who are willing to pack themselves, they're able to make a little bit of it, which is great. Is anyone from Oklahoma City? Okay, good. Because I echo that sentiment. There really isn't anything there. Hopefully, there's nobody that's on our Zoom meeting that is from Oklahoma City. I'm sure it's a wonderful place, but driving through it did feel kind of empty. To get back on track here, you talked about some of that. We've talked a lot about adapting professionally, and we've made reference to socially adapting as well. Are there any? So we obviously have employee networks. We have the Hype group. Outside of your normal business structure, is there any of those groups that any of you have participated in that have helped you feel like you fit in socially, or with those needs, I guess?
I just recently joined Hype. I think it's heighten your professional experience, so I haven't had the chance to be at any of those events, but the URDP program has a ton of events, so those have been really helpful.
And the Hype program, I encourage you all to join and participate if you haven't already, because they do everything, literally. I saw an event for they went and what's the terminology, like making clay pots, but is it throw clay or something, like whatever the term, they were at some place where they all made clay pots together for people that were interested. They have hiking clubs and things like that. So we have a lot of those networks, and it speaks volumes to the nature of the teams. Hopefully that a lot of that happens naturally though within your teams and within your organizations. That's great. That's good to hear. What about cool opportunities, projects, programs that you have worked with? Any of you that have had opportunities that you feel are really cool or unique to Honeywell, even potentially?
I go. There's a lot. Within my role specifically, the other day I was just meeting with a supplier that's I don't know if I can say who, but it's a company that military and space applications do a lot of cool stuff, a lot of cool people, and then within that, I'd say about a month ago, I got to travel to New York to visit a supplier. They were having issues building a part, and I got to go there. I got to tour their facility. I got to see what was happening, specifically what part of the manufacturing process was going wrong, and then what we could do to test it. And it was a live meeting. I got to sit in the whole day with the company and say, hey, this isn't working. What can we do to fix it? And then by the end of the day, we actually had a path forward. And we got to present that to our customer. They approved. and that's what we're working on right now. I think that was just something cool. That was my first trip ever traveling somewhere. But I mean, we do all kinds of cool stuff, specifically with engineering. I know there's plenty of opportunities to travel if that's your thing.
Yeah, I going off what Brendan said, I think supplier visits is one of my favorite things to do in my current role. Interfacing with them, getting to physically see the problems firsthand, and just getting to tour their facilities and see how they do things a little bit differently than us. I also get to work on a lot of cool projects. I think it might bore some of y'all, but one of the cool projects that I'm currently working on is replacing our HTF 7K stator fan valve with injection molded units. So we're working on getting those qualified and approved with the customer. So getting to do a full redesign of a new part I find really fascinating. And I think it goes with our slogan of being a future shaper and making that new innovative technology come to life in our products. And yeah, we get to do this next year we get to do a bird strike simulation, which I'm really excited for.
What kind of bird?
So they use a frozen turkey, actually. Yeah. Yeah.
That just got a lot cooler.
Yeah. So I think that'll be really cool. And a flight test. So at Engines, we do have flight tests. That's actually one of the rotations, which I would really recommend. And so we'll actually get to take our new part up in a real engine and test it out in its flight. Yeah, I won't be going up in the plane.
Man, that's pretty hard to top. I haven't gotten to work anything like that, but I got to work in one that was kind of a system integration project. Working with I'm sure you guys are all familiar with like SAP. And this was going to be rapid response where demand planners were going to be working off that, and then it was going to start flowing down into SAP. So I'm sure we're in the cybersecurity. So for Arrow, they have very strict rules with who can see certain data, how that should flow down, how finance should see the data, how IT goes through their processes, and just being in that project and just seeing how everything from concept into going into place, how that goes. It was like a great learning opportunity just seeing from that, and that was, I think, my favorite project.
That's awesome. Thank you. I wanted to just step back really quick to something that Catherine said about Future Shaper. Anyone who's attended one of the classes that I've presented to, I talk a little bit about this. And we've really been talking about it throughout without expressly stating it. Being a Future Shaper has three main aspects. And this is a big part of what Honeywell is trying to be, both the experiences it provides to the employees, to our customers, as well as to the community. That's number one is make an impact. Number two is make connections, and number three is make your best self. So if you think about it, we've talked about all the connections they've made with customers, with peers. We've talked about the projects that they're working on that are meaningful impacts for people who are relatively new in their careers. And then making the best you, right? We've talked about stretching assignments, the kind of projects that you're going to be able to take on immediately. It really does happen. And not to mention, we're working with some really cool projects. Like nobody's here from this facility, but our Deer Valley facility, we literally have a urban air mobility simulator, like for urban air taxis, right? We are on the front lines of those technological advances as well. There's just a lot of cool stuff that's happening. I wanted to make sure we didn't miss that. Now, we'll leave a lot of time, majority of time, for questions you have. But before we get to that, just if everyone could tell me what's been the best part for you about working at Honeywell. We can just start with Ruben and go down the line again this way.
For me, it's the people. You get to meet a lot of cool, fun people and a lot of smart people, a lot of talent. And I think that's, for me, been my favorite part. Just kind of getting to learn from a lot of people that have a lot of experience, and everybody's like really willing to help. And I think it's a really good culture.
And I would have to say the opportunities, just only being 2 years out of school, I'm able to pursue my MBA, which Honeywell helps pay for. And I get to work on really impactful projects. They give you full-time work, and I think, as we talked about earlier with imposter syndrome, it's easy to think like, I can't do this, or I'm not going to get like the big projects, but no, they give you real projects and you can make an impact if that's something that you want to do, which I appreciate.
I would also have to say the people coming out of college, it was really comforting to know that regardless of the employee's level, if they're a manager, if they're a director, if you have a question or need advice or want to just do a one-on-one, they will clear time in their schedule. If it's not this week, it'll be in the weeks coming, but everyone is really just there to see you succeed and help you reach your potential, which is really nice to know.
I would say I have two. The first one is flexibility. Honeywell really cares about your life outside of work as well. I've been there for 3 years, had a lot of life events go on. I got married, I had the honeymoon, I had all kinds of different things go on. I had to stay home and take care of loved ones, and they let me bring my laptop home for work and work remotely. So they really do truly care about the employee. And then number two, what I touched on before is the projects. I forgot to say one of the things Honeywell at my site specifically does is work on the Orion project, which is for the human to Mars, first ship to Mars. So that's really cool. And we also worked on other things that were on the Artemis launch. What was that, a few weeks ago or so? And you could take a shuttle to there and you could watch it launch. They let you do that. I didn't go because I didn't want to fly out there. You had to pay for that yourself. But there's just lots of cool things. And I think when I say that I work on stuff that goes on in space, people are like, "Oh wow, that's cool," and it really is cool. I think it's awesome.
Thank you. So as mentioned, we will open the time up for questions now. We can use as much or as little of it as you would like. So we'll raise a hand, get the question. I will repeat it, and then whoever wants to answer. So the question was around supplier visits. Since we've had multiple people mention supplier visits, the question is, what departments or positions allow you to do that?
I can speak on that first. I think a lot of the positions allow you to interface with the suppliers. We just actually opened up a whole new branch of supplier readiness, which is all about developing our relationships with our suppliers. So I would definitely look in that area for if you really want to interface a lot with the suppliers. But I personally work on value engineering, cost performance engineering team, and I interface a lot. So anything that you're trying to qualify with them with new parts or fix any of the current issues.
Yeah, and for me, when I went on my latest trip, there was 4 Honeywell employees. One was the PP&C, Parts Procurement and Control. I think that's what it stands for, something like that. So they were, dealing with the parts side, representing the program from a managerial side. I was representing the program, component engineering. We had another component engineer who was more technically focused, who was more familiar with the problem, and then another person who had actually worked at the site that we went in, has now transitioned to Honeywell, but had 30 years experience. So he was the expert. So we had 4 different roles that all went there. So really, like Catherine said, you could really anyone could go on those supplier visits. Just let your manager know that you're interested in that.
Good. Any other questions? So the question is, what advice would you give to someone who's applying to Honeywell trying to get a position? And I'll actually take this one because I'm in HR. Although if anyone has anything to add about your own experiences, that's great. So a lot of our university recruiting entry-level positions, I'll try not to bore with details. Our target is to hire as many full-time people from prior internships as possible. So we have opened right now roughly 400 internships globally, and our hope is to have 400 people start from those full-time when they finish their internships. Not everybody does. Some don't perform. Some decide that it's not the right fit. Things happen, right? And so we also have roughly 100, again globally across all functions, full-time positions that we're recruiting for. Now those university recruiting positions, they don't actually get posted to our website until after events like this are all completed. We prefer to be in person, see meet you all, find if there's anyone that really sticks out. We collect resumes, etc. We pass those on to recruiters, and a recruiter can actually reach out to you proactively with that resume. So the best thing you can do is connect with as many of us as possible. Be yourself, be genuine, and if that is someone that clicks and connects with one of us, then there's a likelihood that we would be happy to pass that resume on to a recruiter, if that makes sense. If for any reason that doesn't happen, if you pass your resume on and you don't hear from someone, that doesn't mean we're not interested in you. There's a lot. I mean, we just go through a lot of resumes and things can get lost. We do post jobs based on whatever is not filled off of all these university events. We post those on our website sometime within the next month. So you could also keep an eye there and absolutely apply there. Does that answer your question? Probably more than you wanted.
Yeah. If you don't mind me adding on to that.
Please, yes.
So I didn't have any internship opportunities before. Not that I didn't look, I didn't. And but if you don't get one and you're interested in, say, you're mechanical engineering, you want to do something with CAD, do a boot camp or something like that. If you don't get an internship, just get experience, because that I've seen is more valuable, or just as valuable as an internship.
Definitely agree. Yeah, that's great. So the question is around general skills that people applying should know or get. I have thoughts on this as well, but I want to hear from our panelists.
I think it definitely depends on what position you're applying for. But I think, as Kristen said earlier, definitely SAP is good to have. Any position you're in, really good skill. Excel skills for sure. And then if you're getting more of the technical role, we work with NX instead of SolidWorks. So I know it's a little bit different because I did SolidWorks in college, but it's basically the same, just dashboard looks a little different. So I think if you have a lot of the base skills, you can just show that you can transfer them to whatever the job position is.
Anyone else before I put in my thoughts here?
I just want to say I wouldn't be discouraged also if you don't have any of these technical skills, because there are so many SAP, Excel, Adobe, all these gurus that are there that will make the time to help you if you just schedule a meeting.
Yeah, and so I know with the what are you studying right now? Software development. Okay, so I'm not sure how those courses are, but with electrical engineering, we did a little bit of everything: circuit design, programming. I did power lines. I mean, you touched on everything, right? But you're, like she said, you're not going to know everything. But one of the things that I got to do, and I don't know if any of you got to experience this as well. When I first got hired on, I went through a Green Belt Six Sigma course. So I got my Green Belt certification, and that's it really teaches you how to go through a problem and solve it. And I think that's the biggest thing, is problem solving, no matter what area you're studying or what area you're trying to go for. I was able to get a project and take it from start to finish, and I got to use all these different tools that were given to me. And if you can touch up on any sort of Six Sigma tools, that might be a good one. That's just a general tool.
Good. And now the HR answer. We've heard them all talk about how you step in and you feel imposter syndrome because I've never, how am I supposed to do this? You're going to learn the majority of what you learn on the job anyway. If you have the right behaviors, if you have the willingness to learn, if you have, and if you're really interested in Honeywell, go Google Honeywell behaviors. You can find what our 8 behaviors are. And you can see, is that a fit, or is that kind of the person that I want to be as well? Because if you have the right behaviors and you have the right work ethic, integrity, you're genuine, those kind of things, we can train you up. Obviously, the skills matter. We can't. I can't go and be an engineer right off the bat. Although I'd like to think that I could learn some of those skills. Believe it or not, in HR, I'm in pivot tables and Excel and all day, every day, managing metrics and things like that too. So. But that's a big thing as well. If you don't have the right skill, absolutely find ways to get it, but don't be afraid to just learn on the job, and that willingness will go way, way further than anything else, in my opinion. Yes, please. The question was, what was the interview process like, and how did you prepare for the interview?
I would say it was a mixture of behavioral and technical questions. So if you're doing supply chain, they'll ask you a couple supply chain questions. And for those technical questions, they're, not always just looking for the right answer. It's how you solve the problem, and it's about how you work it out in the interview, not necessarily if you come to the exact answer. They're not expecting you to have all the answers like we've been saying. It's just, showing your work effort. And then, the behaviors are really important. You can go on the Honeywell website. We have 8 behaviors that are really important to us. So I definitely check those out. And I think another big question that's, asked in the interview is, why Honeywell? Do some research on the company, know some of our products, and, let us know why you're interested in it so that you can show your interest and kind of set yourself apart in the interview.
Yeah, I think that's very important. I dove into the 10K so you could look at like competitors, what kind of challenges they're facing, and it kind of gives you a pretty good like summary idea of, like you said, products and things that they're working, not just right now, but in the future. I think that was like a big help for me because it helped me also understand like their culture and things of that nature.
Yeah, I would also just go off of that and say definitely do your research. If you can find a way to work in some of the Honeywell behaviors into your answers, they love that. They'll eat that up. And yeah, 10K is a good point. And also, like, if sustainability is a passion of yours, our ESG report is published for 2022. So just things like that. Just kind of familiarize yourself with our leadership, our CEO, our Aero president, things like that. It's good to show that you put in the effort before the interview.
Yeah, and I would say practice some interview questions, general ones. I did that with my mom. I'm not very, back then I was not very comfortable talking one-on-one with someone, eye contact, things like that, speaking loudly. Those are all things that you just should practice. They always, like they said, the behaviors, stress that. Talk about that. They do eat it up. And I just be honest. My manager asked me, why did you apply for component engineering? I honestly had no idea what component engineering was. I'd never even heard of that role, what it was before I even applied. I was just applying anywhere and everywhere. And, I did some research beforehand, but I told him, and honestly, I really don't know, but I want to learn. I want to learn. I'm very eager. I want to work for Honeywell. I love you as a company. And he valued that a lot.
Yeah, I would say don't say just, I don't know. Definitely follow it up with something. That's kind of a red flag, but
Yeah, being genuine is so critical, right? When you look at those behaviors they're talking about, they're going to eat those up, and that's true. But if you're not someone who likes to move with speed, then you might not talk about our behavior that talks about speed as a differentiator. That doesn't mean you can't be a fit, right? But don't lie. And it might be, to be quite honest with you, this is a skill that I'm still learning on. I can get stuck in the details because I really want to get things right. We like people that like to get things right too, right? So be yourself. And that comes for Honeywell or any company. Go look at their values, go look at their behaviors, and see how you fit those, how you would like to become more like those, and be able to just incorporate that into any question they ask. I think goes a long way. Yeah.
And I think, like he said, preparation is everything. Like you should, practice, make sure that you're comfortable with questions that, I think that's just in everything before meetings. You should prepare, make sure you're ready, and you'll feel better inside too, knowing that you're prepared, you're confident in your answers.
Also, never underestimate the power of like a power pose or listening to whatever your hype music is beforehand. I'm not kidding. I went through a lot of interviews for different companies, both after undergrad and grad school, and it goes a long way. So figure out what that thing is for you to make you feel a little more comfortable. Any other questions? Great. So the first question is about the rotations because we have a few of our panelists that are in different rotational programs. I'm actually on a rotational program for HR as well, so we have a number of them. And the question is just around that experience, the number of rotations, the locations, experiences, correct? Are they all related, et cetera? Yeah.
I can take that one. So, no, they are vastly different from each other, and they're designed to be that way because we want you to get experience in all the different areas. And they're at different sites too. So, you could be at the engines facility for one, and then you could be at Sky Harbor for the next. You could be at our space facility in Glendale for another one. So, I think that's the really great thing about the rotation program. You're not only getting a different role, you're getting a different site, getting a different product line for that rotation, totally different experience in each of them. And it's designed specifically so you know which area you like and fit into best.
Yeah, our rotations are different as well. The only difference really is the rotations are a year, and I believe it is our 6 months, right? So ours are a year, and then we have to do one of the rotations can't be in the same SBG. So if you did two in Aero, then you have to do the other ones in PMT or SPS or
Real quick, SBG stands for Strategic Business Group. 100,000 employees. We structure those over 5, 6 different businesses, and we call those SBGs. Did you have something you wanted to add, Kristen, to that?
I did, and I lost it.
No worries. Yeah, each of these. So we have a number of different early career programs that are rotational or non-rotational. A lot of our positions are also non-rotational, and each of them vary slightly. But if they're a rotational program, it is designed to give you exposure and experiences across the business. The idea giving you I like to compare it to a pyramid. The broader the base of your pyramid is, the higher it can go. And so if we want leadership, and this applies to all of you, no matter what company you end up at, whether you're in a rotational program or not, upward mobility is so appealing, but it'll only take you so far if you're building a needle, right? So get that strong base. What was your follow-up question? Okay, so the question was, we're out of COVID now, obviously. Do we have opportunity for remote internships? And I can speak to this, although you might know your specific business is different. We do prefer in person. There are some remote opportunities, certainly, and all of our positions that are not required to be on site full time. So we have people that are, some of our engineering are supporting specific product where they actually have to be there. Certainly some of our frontline employees have to be there. Otherwise, if you don't have to be there, then we work a 3-2 schedule, 3 days in the office, 2 days working from home. So we do have some flexibility there, but as far as remote is concerned, that would be the exception and not the norm. For internships right now, that would be the exception, not the norm. Anything that would go contrary to that based on what you have all seen?
No, but I remember what I was going to say about the rotations.
Perfect.
So I actually prefer the 6-month rotations as opposed to some of my friends have like a year or 3 years or even longer. I think the 6-month time period is a really good way to sort of survey the rotation, the role. So 6 months is long enough to get a feel for it, meet your manager, meet your coworkers, things like that, learn the skills. But then it's also short enough that if you hate it, you can get out of there quick.
That's a good answer. Yeah, you bet. Any other questions? We've got 5 minutes. Yeah. The question is if any of the panelists work on regional air mobility or RETOL. I don't even know what that means. Okay, or vertical takeoff. No, you're good. You're good. They probably know what it means. I don't.
I know we do make valves for F-35s, but I don't know if that's the Marine version or if it's the other version, so I wouldn't be able to say if it's directly related to that or.
I would say your best bet is looking at Deer Valley. Would that be the site?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, Deer Valley. If we do something, Deer Valley is the best bet.
And I don't know if we have reps from Deer Valley here at all today or not. We have others that are, again, at the tables. There's some business leaders at the panel that's at 1 o'clock. If you're able to come to that, that might be a good question for them because they have experience and visibility across a lot more of the businesses. It's crazy. Every day, maybe not every day, that might be an exaggeration, but every week I learn about something new that I had no idea Honeywell was involved in. Different part of the airplane, a different segment of work. So that'd be a good question to bring back to that one if you're able. Yes, please. The question is good resources to learn more about SAP.
It's a good question.
YouTube? I don't know.
YouTube, that's
Yeah.
everything.
I tried finding like really good ones, but I think like SAP is kind of customizable, right? Like, so I did not find a lot. I didn't have a lot of luck just on my own.
I would say as soon as you start in your role, and if you are using SAP, try to find the best person around you who knows the most, and just meet with them as often as you can, just to learn anything, everything. Like,
Yeah, you can definitely look at some of the basics, but a lot of the T codes are specialized to specific companies, so I wouldn't get in too specific into the T codes of it. But yeah, definitely just, I guess, YouTube videos. And then we do have a learning hub at Honeywell where you can watch a bunch of videos like once you start there that I would definitely recommend. And definitely, again, like Brendan was saying, doing a green belt and tying that in with SAP potentially.
I would say one thing that did kind of help me a little bit since I hadn't worked in supply chain before was just read like a MRP book. It kind of gives you at least a little bit of the kind of theory about it, even if it's not specific, but it'll kind of tell you about certain things where you could kind of relate them. You'd be like, oh, okay, that kind of makes a little bit more sense.
I think we got time for one or two more if there's any other questions out there. Yeah, please. Yeah, that question, I'm sorry, I just got to repeat it. That question was for Catherine around what skill sets are required or what type of position are involved in those flight tests, the bird flight tests that you're talking about.
Sure. A team that would definitely work on this type of testing a lot would be our NPI team, so our new product implementations team, who's constantly working on our newest, latest, and greatest technology. They're definitely doing a lot of that testing. This is more of a specialized case for me because we're making a change. Anytime you do a material change or a big change to a part, you have to do certain types of tests. Since that is a stator, we have to do that test for it. But I would definitely, if you're interested in that, look into like new product development team. They would do a lot of testing for that.
Time for one more. We have it. Yes, please. Yeah, absolutely. The question is if Honeywell provides any sort of assistance to employees who are looking to get a master's. I think we have. Yeah, answer the questions.
Sorry, I can go again. I actually just started my master's at ASU, and Honeywell is they do provide an annual amount every year for that. So I definitely look into that. It's always better to get your master's if your company can help pay for it.
Yep, fully covered if you get a B or higher.
Yes,
based on that total annual amount that they'll cover up to. Thank you all so much. This is really great. We're really enjoying being here. It's a great campus. Really impressed by all of you as students so far. Again, come by and visit us at our booths. See us at the other panel that's coming up at 1 o'clock. We will continue to be in other classes, and I think there's food that's going to be provided before the next panel. I don't remember the exact details because I don't know where I'm at on campus and where it is. Oh, right out here. There you go. So thank you all so much for coming.